When I think about a well-rounded student and my role in working with kids and becoming that, the first thing that comes to my head is the profile of the grad. The easiest way we have is obviously being physically fit, because that's the primary responsibility of our sports, is that they have to be athletically fit. But the second one that has always really helped with sports is academically competent, because they have to be eligible. And we have so many kids that will be eligible in season, and then they're not eligible when their season's not in session. That's become one of the challenges of to create things to continually challenge them and make sure that doing their best in the classroom is always a requirement in our sports. Religious has been, I struggled with early in my career. I do my best to try to set a good example in that regard, but we have chaplains who are better. The addition of the chaplains has been really easy to help guide that aspect into our program. Working for social justice is another area similar to being religious. Is we just turn to Mr. Perry and Matt and our parents, and we find service projects to take the whole team to go and do, and so they know that we care about that as well. Open to growth comes easy in athletics, because you have to be willing to adjust. You're going to go through adversity. You're going to play sometimes you don't want to. You're going to get cut sometimes. And the important part is we need to recognize when they need help, understanding how they're going to grow and what they're going to get from this. And last is loving, which is tough sometimes from a man to boys, and understanding the threshold. But over the years, I'm very comfortable telling the kids I love them. But they say it back. They know we care about them. And when you're having to make tough decisions and they're hearing things they don't want to hear, but they know at the end of the day that you care about them and you love them, it's a lot easier for them to take all that stuff. And that's the main stuff I take into consideration when I'm thinking about trying to help create a well-rounded student.
I really value working with the kids a lot. I predominantly work with sophomores, but I still have a junior level class of Spanish, and I think meeting the kids and caring for them, one of the biggest things that I take away from is their individuality. They each one of them has a story. Each one of them has a background, and I take that into account. One of the things that I always tell the boys is the biggest secret to judgment is to get to know your teachers, because once you get to know your teachers, then they'll really take good care of you. So if you meet them halfway, they'll meet you halfway, and then that's where the learning experiences come. That's where the growth happens. That's where the teacher recommendations and all those good things come for them as well. And then that's where we as teachers really get to see our legacy grow. So I'm really grateful to be in a place that allows me to connect with kids in a manner more consistent than maybe in other schools, where I can really focus on their formation of growth, spirituality, physicality, mental skills, religion, you name it, and everything that the profile holds for them.
When I think about talking to students, more specifically listening to students, the first thing that comes to mind is something that therapists call unconditional positive regard. And that means that when you're interacting with a student, they know at all times that whatever they say, whoever they are, whatever their opinions are, that they're always going to be interacting with an adult who regards them as being more valuable than the worst thing they could say or the worst thing they could do. The second thing I think about when listening to students is sometimes the best thing to do is to learn to shut up. As adults, we have the ability to dominate conversation with adolescents. And not just dominate, but overmanage. And by allowing silence, by allowing kids to just sit in your office, I think that that is in some ways the most valuable listening you can do. The last thing in regards to listening to students is establishing little things like saying their name when they come into class, giving them a fist bump or a handshake when they come into class. Over my years of teaching, I've learned that by establishing those routines, that kind of simple human contact, if you can do that on a regular basis, then the more difficult stuff, like having an authentic conversation, actually a lot easier. And sometimes we forget that how important it can be for students just for a teacher to say their name when they walk into the room and to acknowledge them.
If you're male, you already know that you have already learned this code. If you go next door to St. Rita and watch first grade and you have a group of 5-year-old or 6-year-old boys and you introduce a new boy to it, that boy is treated very differently than if you introduce a girl to a group of girls. Traditionally, girls welcome. Come in. We're playing a game. We're going to teach you how to play a game. Boys push. Get out. You have to earn your way in. By the time you're 14, you've learned these things and you've heard them from your father, teachers, whoever. Stand on your own 2 feet. And this really works great because if you stand on your 2 feet, that means as a boy you don't ask for help or directions or assistance. And here you are as a teacher saying, can I help you? And you met often with silence. Part of that is just understanding the boy code. Don't rat on anyone. And if you're a guy, you understand at a young age, you never rat on anybody. The coach is telling you who did that, and you're like, I ain't saying it. And nobody's going to say, you know, when I was 14 on a basketball team, somebody did something really bad, and I can still, in my mind, when I close my eyes, see my redheaded coach yelling at me, who did it? Who did it? You'll all be in this gym forever. But, of course, nobody rats. So when somebody does something wrong, don't expect them to rat. Never show fear or threat of violence and roughness and tough talk, so you're never afraid. I watched a movie last night that's great about fathers and sons and about boys. The 2 boys in it are 14. It's called Mud. It's really good. And they are emblems of the boy code. They have to be tough, they have to talk tough, and they are totally at 14 not afraid of anything.
I think part of caring for the students is kind of holding them accountable, and the best way to do that is model accountability yourself. I always start the school year off by talking about goals, long-term goals that the boys will be able to do by June, and then short-term goals and then immediate goals. Every day I start class off with, all right, fellas, this is what we're going to do, and we do it. And I think once the boys start seeing that, after a few days, they respect you, they respect each other, and they take that as, okay, this guy has a plan, and he cares for us because he wants us to carry through and reach the goals that he set forth. I think the other part, outside the classroom, accountability is a big thing too. If you want the boys to take an interest in you and your subject, you got to take an interest in them. Always make yourself available, whether it's going to a wrestling match 10 o'clock in the morning in the Terry Center or, 7 o'clock play Friday night. The boys take notice of that. They may not, see you there, but then talking to them about it, showing an interest, they really appreciate stuff like that. And I think that's part of it, just building the rapport, building the relationship. You want them to be accountable, they hold you accountable too. And it's kind of that give and take.